Morata, il destro, bene per Dybala, sinistro, gol!
Lewandowski, Ball rein damit in die Mitte, Schieber mit dem Kopf, Reus, quer, Linie, Tor! Golazo de Cristiano Ronaldo para el Real Madrid.
Il est passé Lucas, il est passé, il va tenir ce ballon, le remettre dans la... Quel but extraordinaire d'André Di.
Hello and welcome to the Football Hipsters podcast. This is week 26, which is just over halfway to 50. Where has the time gone? I am your host, Kris, as I always am, and I'm joined by the regular Three Stooges, or crew, as I like to call them. I've got John, Tom, and Drew. Good evening, gentlemen.
Evening.
Sup?
Hey, guys.
Right, I have plenty to get my teeth into with you, gentlemen, but as I always do, I have to start where we do each week, which is the mighty 90. Okay then, so who shall I pick on this week? Well, I'm actually going to change things up this week. I'm going to pick on myself because I just figured I haven't really done one for a while, and I know you lot sit there and think, he gets the easy one, he gets to go last, so I'm going to step up to the plate and I'm going to put the clock on myself. So, Lorient this week, let's get the update, and my time will begin now. So, this week, Lorient faced Toulouse, the informed Toulouse, at Le Moustoir, which is, of course, Lorient's home ground. 13,212 people were there. Lots of people. And it ended in a 1-1 draw, which, to be perfectly honest, probably favours Lorient slightly more, I would suggest. But it was a fairly timid and cagey first half. Makanju and Meslu were in to replace Waris and Barthelme, but really didn't have much effect in that first half. It was pretty dull. Truth be told, Dido's free kick was ruled out for offside, and Lorient's best effort was a Makanju header straight at Alban Lafont. But then in the second half, just 4 minutes in fact into that second half, the visitors took the lead with a Ben Yedder goal. It was very, very nicely created goal, in fact, between Doumbia and Braithwaite, and it was 1-0, and he is obviously their leading talisman, and he thought he had a second goal, in fact, but it was ruled out for offside after a tight call. Lecomte was in action shortly afterwards to prevent an own goal from Abdullah, but with just seconds to spare, in the 91st minute, Lorient managed to pull level and pulled out the old 1-1 draw with a stunning strike, really, from Zago Touré, who, of all people, the centre-back up from a free kick, slashed it into the net. So it ended 1-1. Toulouse could have won it late on. Lorient could have won it late on, but the draw was probably the fair result overall. And Lorient now sit 11th in Liga on 43 points. Up next is the Coupe de la France, or Coupe de France semi-final against PSG. Next weekend is informed St Etienne. So there we go. That's my update for you all. And I shall now turn my attention to you, Drew, and let's find out how things have been going. Find out how things have been going in Holland.
No.
I have a funny feeling I know the answer to this question, but hey-ho. Right, your Mighty 90 begins now.
Well, it wasn't all bad, but it wasn't all good. We hosted Groningen, and our struggles against them continue. We drew 1 at home. Not terrible, but ironically enough, it was a typical Arsenal performance. Dominated them from first to 90th minute in all statistical points, but we can only see out the 1-1. They even opened the scoring on 25 minutes, and it was sort of, we were scrambling around until Tony Vellina got the equalizer on 65 minutes, and then we just couldn't find that second. And after the performance that we put in, it's shown clear that Dirk Hout, I guess, unless he's played in either one or two positions where he should be playing, his lack of influence in the match, when it's not there, we don't do well. And then Jens Torscher didn't perform well either. He's been one of the better sources of attacking prowess for us over the last 5-6 weeks during the little bit of a run we've had, but he didn't play well either, and it showed. And without those two, Michel Kramer is almost kind of useless in a way. Elliot played well. Vellina played well. The back four did pretty okay, but Sven van Beek didn't have a good performance, and Kenneth Vermeer actually didn't play well either. So even though Groningen only registered 5 shots all match, we got the 1-1. So it's not so bad, but the fact that we only now sit 6 points ahead of Azad Alkmaar for third place with 3 matches to go, a little bit worrying. So we'll see how it goes from there.
Fair enough, and that is your time. So we've had 2 1-1 draws so far. I think it's time to buck the trend, isn't it, John? Your Mighty 90 on Gladbach this week begins now.
Yeah, didn't get a 1-1. It was a game against Hanover, bottom of the league Hanover, surely soon to be relegated Hanover, but we were playing away from home, so of course we lost. This season really, I'm done with it. Anyway, Hanover, they got a new manager in whose name I can't remember. I'm sure Drew will tell you later, but their results have improved somewhat, and as I've said before, Gladbach on the road have been really poor, especially this year. And they got the first goal shot from Anton. It was really well struck, but Jan Sommer got beat at his near post, and he really shouldn't have been. He got a hand to it, but couldn't do enough, and it was just disappointing, and it just felt like, because we're away from home, we just won't get the rub of the green. We didn't really create that many chances in the game. They got a second follow-up goal quite quick from Sobiek as well. Just poor defending, didn't block the cross coming in. And Hanover were actually quite impressive, pressing really well up the pitch, forcing errors. We had Fabian Johnson had sort of half a chance, and Ibrahim Traore when he came on was okay, but we just didn't play very well. For some reason Anders Christensen was played in midfield, which was slightly strange, but all of that means we are still in 5th. We're now 4 points behind Hertha, but we are level on points with Mainz and Schalke, which is a bit worrying. Next game is at home, thankfully, to Hoffenheim, but 2 of our last games are away, and one of those is to Bayern.
That's your time. Very nicely done. Daniel Stendel is the new Hanover coach. For
Yes,
anyone who
yes,
cares.
that's the one.
So,
Git. Sorry.
yes, indeed. It wasn't a good weekend for teams we support. So we've had 2 draws and a defeat.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, well, now you speak up, Mr. Kansen. It's time for Austrian update. And seeing as there's only really a couple of teams who can win this league, surely one of them is your team.
The digs are getting in early. Okay.
Oh, come on. We had
3 teams, mate.
Our teams haven't won, so we have to wind you up a little bit. But your Salzburg Mighty 90 begins then now.
Okay, so in the best league in the world, Red Bull Salzburg played a game against SV Ried. Demarai, Minamino and Liner all got starts this week as they look to increase the gap before the Vienna derby was played later in the day. Ried are 9th place in the league, and we started off well. Minamino's cross found Soriano, who took a touch before firing just wide, but it was a very tight angle. Demarai's close range shot couldn't be saved, and Berisha tried to get it in, but just failed, hitting over. Keita put the balls 1-0 up with a sublime effort from outside the box, which clipped the post on the way in. And then after a dominant first half, you'd expect that we'd go on to just completely dominate the second half, but it didn't happen. A calamitous defensive mistake between Kaletakara and goalkeeper Valka allowed Elsneg, I know, pretty name. I mean, whoever named him was brilliant, but headed in to make the equaliser. Went on plenty of chances. Hwang missed the 1v1, and it wasn't until the 92nd minute where we won a free kick just outside the edge of the box, and Mr. Soriano stepped up to curl in a winner. And Oscar Garcia and everyone in the staff all went quite mad. In the Rapid Vienna derby with Austria Vienna, a Rapid 1-1-0, so it means that there's still a 6-point gap at the top with 5 games to go. So it's definitely heating up a bit, but with that win, I think we will have the momentum to keep us at the top.
Very good, very good, super. Right, do you know what I think we should do? I've been thinking about this for a while. I think in next season, because obviously we're not very far away from the end of the season now, but I think next season we should adopt a podcast team. We should pick just the most obscure league, and we should adopt a team, and then we'll take it in turns to do a Mighty 90 for that team each week. That's what I think we should do. So, there you go, listeners. Have you got any ideas for who we should adopt?
Espanyol.
No, we're in a hipster league, Tom. Goodness me, we got to pick a team like
Athletic Bilbao.
No. Anyway, answers on a postcode, boys and girls. If there's a league, maybe we should adopt an MLS team or something random like that.
No, absolutely not.
I was waiting for that, Drew. I was waiting for that.
What about Toronto? They're not even in USA.
Can we pick a team that always wins?
Yeah,
Can we put Higgins in Chile?
O'Higgins, that is, to you.
That's O'Higgins, apologies.
Terrible. Our one Chilean listener now has just thrown his radio out the window. Anyway, right, that's the Mighty 90s wrapped up again then for another week. As usual, if you've got any questions on the teams we support, ping us a tweet. Let's move on then, and we'll take a trip into the world of stats. It is this week's World of Football. Right then, some stats for you. Let's pick out some goals and whatnot. So, Premier League this week, 28 goals, 6 clean sheets, 2 red cards, 2 home wins, 5 away wins from the 10 games played. That includes tonight's game, which we won't be mentioning. Liga is 32 goals this weekend, 4 clean sheets, 3 red cards, 3 home wins, 5 away from the 10 games. In La Liga, 28 goals, 2 clean sheets, no red cards, 4 home wins, 3 away from the 10 played. In Italy and Serie A, 28 goals, 6 clean sheets, 3 red cards, 5 home wins, 3 away from the 10. And finally in Germany, 27 goals, 7 clean sheets, 3 red cards, 8 home wins, and just the 1 away from the 9 games. That brings us the weekly totals, 143 goals across the Big Five, 25 clean sheets, 11 red cards, 22 home wins, 17 away from the 49 games played. Couple of stats I've decided to pick out this week just to touch in on. Most goals in a game ratio. La Liga is out in front in this one, 12 on average. Liga and the Premier League are tied on 9, Bundesliga on 8, and Serie A on 7. And most red cards, this is always a fun one to pick on. Liga is still out in front, 106. Serie A is catching up, 102. And then you've got 94 in La Liga. And the Premier League and Bundesliga way behind. Bundesliga only 35 red cards all season, and the Premier League only 48. Rumour has it that 43 of those for Victor Wanyama. That's one for Ross. And the final stat I'll bring to you, clean sheets. Always another good one to look at. La Liga, 135, just behind Liga, you guessed it, 140. And you got 131 in the Premier League, 130 in Serie A, and 100 dead in the Bundesliga. So there we go. There's a couple of stats for you. Let's take our weekly journey around Europe then, shall we? And we're going to go back to Tom. So we're going to start in Spain and this week's La Liga. Right then, Tom, let's start with there's a title race suddenly breaking out in La Liga all of a sudden. More on the reasons why in a minute. But Real Madrid started the weekend with an away trip to Getafe looming, and you would have expected them to go there and win. Did they? And how did they, if they did?
Well, it was Getafe, so what do you expect? But this is actually a Madrid derby. Sort of. I mean, if you can really count Getafe. A lot of people don't like Getafe because they're one of the teams in La Liga don't really have a bit of an identity for their region because obviously Madrid's dominated by Real and Atletico. But yeah, the game expected how you would expect. Took 29 minutes for Real to open the scoring. James whipped in a ball for Benzema to half volley into the bottom left-hand corner. The Frenchman was then involved in the second goal, playing a 1-2 of Isco, and the young Spaniard finished it off to make it 2-0. Benzema then played a beautiful ball over the top of the Bale to run onto, took a couple of touches and then finessed past Greater in the Getafe goal to make it 3. Second half rolled around and Sarabia in the 84th minute scored the goal of the match for Getafe. Lofted a shot way over Navas's head and nestled in the top right-hand corner. So Getafe can take something from this match. But in the last 5 minutes of the match, I think it was Lucas Vazquez, yes, and no, sorry, Lucas Vazquez. Lucas Vazquez laid it off for James to finish, and Ronaldo also got one to make it 5. So Didier Deschamps might be ruining the fact he left Benzema out of the French squad.
He might be, but then equally, I'm sure his teammates will be quite
when
delighted.
When he looks at Giroud, I'm sure he might.
Yeah, true, but he certainly won't be worrying, or won't be having the worry of anything being filmed over the summer. At least that's one thing to not worry about. So Real getting off to a good start as far as the title race goes, but we'll just dip down a little bit because I want to touch on Eibar next, who faced Sociedad. Now Sociedad have been on fairly well, two wins prior to a couple of losses previously, but they've been on an upward trajectory this year. But little Ibar, they were the team that was supposed to get murdered this year, and they haven't, and they won again.
They did, and going for the Madrid derby, this was a Basque derby, not involving Bilbao, obviously, but the two smaller Basque clubs played an excellent game that I watched while drinking many beers on the way to a night out, but less about that, more about the game. It began very well for Sociedad. Zuratuza, a player that I didn't know too much about. I know the guy's French, and he come from the French league and stuff like that. But the guy played a little flicked pass over an on-rushing Eibar defender before hammering a half-volleyed shot way over Riesco in the Eibar goal. A perfection of a shot to make it 1-0 Sociedad. But Eibar turned it around. It took until the 32nd minute for Eibar to level. Kappa's cross, the right back, who's had an excellent season for Sergi Enrique, headed his 7th league goal of the season. Took a little deflection off Reyes, but you won't mind at all. And then it was Enrique who was involved in the winner, sending a cross that really just couldn't deal with, and the young midfielder Escalante headed home brilliantly to make it 2-1. The same guy, Escalante, could have put the game beyond doubt, but he skied a shot, just wide of the goal, and that's how it finished, 2-1. So Eibar, you have to say, are now 99% safe. It's mathematics, but we all know what that means, and certainly Arsenal fans will as well.
Yeah, don't mention them for God's sake. Zuratuza, interesting information for you. He is a French citizen, or born in France in Rochefort, but he actually spent his whole career at Sociedad. His whole professional career.
Oh, you would know. So.
Yeah, he joined in 2008, and he's been there ever since. And he's technically now, I think he is actually a Spanish national now. So.
Oh, is he? Well, that'll be him from playing too much FIFA, singing in the French flag. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good little player. Good little player. Let's move on to Atletico Madrid, who, fresh off of dumping Barcelona out of the Champions League, faced a relatively straightforward-looking tie at home to Granada. Having their Madrid rivals win earlier on in the weekend, I guess this was a must-win. I'm assuming they did.
They did, but not by one goal. So there is that little caveat there. So, but yeah, no. If Atletico would have won, they would have gone on level terms with Barca before they played Valencia later on. More on that in a bit. And they started well. Koke's hit an early effort over, and it was the Spaniard that was the man who got the first goal. Torres, a little mishit, got him a bit of an assist, laying straight into Koke's feet, who slammed past. And Granada were then allowed a few chances. I mean, this is where Atletico's defence could be in a bit of bother going into the semi-finals in the Champions League. They've been a bit iffy recently, and it certainly showed here. Rashina hit an excellent long-range effort that hit the top right post, and they'll be ruining that mistake, because then in the second half, Torres was on form, laid through by Koke of all people, and chipped over Fernandez to make it 2. And the third goal involved only 3 players and only 4 touches. Oblak's long goal kick found Saul's head, who headed on for Correa to run on, take 1 touch, and then finesse around Fernandez again to make it 3. It was quite an excellent goal, and a very athletic goal, all in the air. So, a good result for Atleti, but those defensive errors will definitely need some analysis and of all the people who know of their defensive coaching. I'm sure Simeone will sort it out.
Yeah, he'll just get them in and just absolutely bollock them, no doubt.
3-0, but you were bad.
Yeah, you were terrible. Right, we'll finish with Barcelona then, who on paper you thought, okay, they've gone out of the Champions League in midweek, they're going to have sore heads. As a Valencia fan, coming from going to the new camp, you'd probably be thinking, we might be on for one here today, but it did not turn out that way, did it?
No, it didn't. I mean, as you say, a Valencia fan, after the result they got in the Copa del Rey, you were expecting another massive turnover, but it didn't. It started how you'd expect. Barca started very well. Neymar had a chipped effort, punched away by Alves, and it was the Brazilian keeper on hand again who saved a curling effort from Messi. But then magical things began to happen. Not that I'm biased whatsoever, but Andre Gomez slipped in the on loan Atleti left back, so there's a bit of a caveat there. Sequeira, whose cross deflected off Rakitic and past Bravo. At this point, I happened to be speaking to our omnipotent, is that the right word? Omnipotent host, which is you, Kris, who said, I might put a little bet on Barcelona here. I'm sure they'll go on to win this. Naturally, Valencia then went 2-0 up. Santi Mina slipped in again on the left-hand side by Parejo, and his shot somehow managed to go past Bravo. I mean, at the time I wasn't watching the game, but I remember you specifically saying, how has he not done better? And from watching it back, he really, really should have saved that one. Second half, the Barca goal did come. Alba laid in a cross that found Messi, and he slotted home to make it 2-1. They peppered that goal. Rakitic's attempt was saved by Alves, but then Valencia really should have finished it off. Alcacer really could have finished, but completely hit it to the left-hand side of the goal. It was a really quite an odd miss, but I guess the pressure got to him. And then right at the end, the chance, you could argue, was this an easier chance than Alcacer's, but Piqué found himself in the box, chested the ball down, and then struck it miles wide from about 6 yards out. So all I have to say after this, it is very on now in La Liga.
It really is, yeah. And that I can confirm I did not place that bet, so dodged that bullet.
There you go.
And that PK miss, wow, that was right chance for the wrong man. Before we touch on the rest of the results in La Liga, our good friend Mark, West Ham supporting friend Mark, he sent us a lot of questions tonight. God bless him. So what we're going to do, Mark, is we're going to try and get to a couple of them, and the ones we don't get to this week, we'll try for another week. But there's a couple that you wanted to touch on Barcelona. So while we're on it, let's just ask these quickly. So you wanted to know what you think's going on with Barcelona, and also on the same sort of subject, if Luis Enrique doesn't win the title, and obviously is out of the Champions League, do you think he loses his job?
Well, on what's going on, Barcelona have played a lot of games this season. People go on in the Premiership about how La Liga doesn't play as many matches because you have the Catalan Cup. But you have to remember the Copa del Rey plays 2 legs of each round. And then if your team like Barcelona is also in the Champions League and who relatively goes on to play in the quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals, you're going to play a lot of games. They also, because they won the Champions League, had to play the Club World Cup over in Japan, I believe the final was. So it was a long trip. They've played so many games, and relatively, they don't have that big of a squad. I mean, if you look at the first half of the season, of course, they didn't have Arda Turan and Alex Vidal, and they've only just come into the side. But the main quality is in that starting lineup, and the rest of that, when you look at the likes of Munir and Sandro, they haven't got that much to rotate around, and especially with an ageing squad, that could come in a massive problem in a few years. But in terms of Luis Enrique, if they don't win the league and now they're at the Champions League, all they've got left is Copa del Rey, which really for Barcelona isn't that big an achievement. So could he lose his job? I personally don't think he will. I think that there are enough, I don't want to say excuses, but I think there are enough reasons why Barcelona are seeing this dip in form, but it could not have come at a worse time.
Yeah, what you would probably say is their running is quite favourable, shall we say?
Oh yes, of course. They've all got bottom half teams. So, yeah.
Yes, Deportivo, the next one, is probably the only one I could see probably.
That'll be a draw then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Right, let's whip through the results for the weekend then.
Yep, okay. So Levante grabbed themselves a lifeline with a 2-1 home win to Espanyol. Boo. Perez put the Catalans ahead, but goals from Rossi. That's I want to say Joan Luigi then, but that was completely wrong. What is his first name, Kris? Rossi?
Giuseppe Rossi.
Giuseppe Rossi, that's
Thank
the
you,
one.
John.
And Majani getting the goals that turned it around for Levante. Then the Las Palmas juggernaut was halted with a 1-1 home draw to Sporting Gijón. Big ass, but Las Palmas 1-0 up in 3 minutes, but then in the 48th minute, a Johnny strike meant the points were shared. The same scoreline was seen at Vigo, and Ndai getting Betis the first half lead, but Hernandez's 78th minute strike salvaged a point for Celta. Bilbao looked to punish any Villarreal mistakes that could happen later in the weekend with a 1-0 away win at Malaga. Raul Garcia getting the goal for the Basque side. Sevilla couldn't get away with their Depor draw trap that seemed to be salvaging many points from this season. Iborra put Sevilla 1-0 up, but Oriol Riera's 81st minute strike split the points. So as I just mentioned, Depor, that's their 17th draw of the season. So if Barca are going to drop points to anyone, you would look to see it be them, seeing as they drew against them 2-2 at the Nou Camp earlier in the season. Bilbao's win was rewarded with a surprise 2-1 victory for Rayo against Villarreal. Guerra put Vallecano ahead early on before an excellent Adrian volley levelled the scores, but all 3 points went to Rayo as Fedor scored in the 81st minute. So really that was quite a surprise and a massive push for Rayo's survival hopes.
Interesting. And all of that said, where are we looking at table-wise now, top and bottom?
Okay, so the top five, Barcelona are still top, but 76 points. Atletico are now joint. They're also on 76 points, but because of the head-to-head records, it's done not by goal difference, but head-to-head records. Barca will have to be overtaken in points if either Atleti or Real, who sit on 75 in third, want to overtake them for the title. In fourth place sit Villarreal on 60 points, so 15 points. That title race is over for them, if that ever was considered. But the race really is for the top four, that fourth place. And Bilbao sit now 6 points behind Villarreal, with the two having reverse results, and they overtook Celta, who dropped to sixth. In the bottom five, Getafe sit on 28 points. They've gone below Levante, whose win took them above them due to head-to-head results, also on 28 points. In 18th, we have Sporting Gijón on 29 points. And then just outside the relegation zone, our 17th place, Granada, who 1 point above Sporting Gijón on 30. And then a bit of a gap for Rayo, thanks to their win on 16 on 34 points. Still not safe, but that win really was huge for them.
It's all getting close at both ends of the table. It is in most of our leagues, actually, to be fair. But what about, I believe you've got a midweek programme coming up. So do you want to give us those fixtures and then pick out a highlight game from both midweek and the weekend ahead?
Yes, I can do. So we have Tuesday's games like Espanyol against Celta Vigo and Real Betis against Las Palmas. On Wednesday, we have Depor against Barca, expect a draw. Valencia against Eibar, Sporting Gijón against Sevilla, Athletic Bilbao against Atletico Madrid, Malaga against Rayo, Real Madrid against Villarreal. On Thursday, you have Real Sociedad against Getafe and Granada against Levante. And my game for the weekend isn't one of the big boys, even though it's a massive title race going on. But I'm going to be looking at Las Palmas against Espanyol, because Espanyol really, really need a win to try and stay up. So I'll be watching that one.
Good stuff at Hipster's Choice. I like it. Okay, fantastico. Right.
I have some news.
Oh, go on. Yeah, go on. Pick us some news.
My Griezmann top arrived.
Good. That's good news. Well done, Postman. He always delivers. Ka-ching. Right. Let's switch gears. Although I should say, if you do have any questions, obviously give Tom a message and he will endeavour to reply to you. But we will change gears now. And John, this is the part where I hand over the show to you. And we'll have a little dip into France and see what is happening in this week's Liga.
Alright, hello everybody. Now, despite the fact that PSG have won the title, there is stuff still to play for in France, believe it or not. And our first game is a perfect highlight of that. It was Lyon versus Nice. How'd they get on, Kris?
Yes, this was indeed the game I picked out. I said it would probably be the game to watch because of the connotations of finishing the Champions League spots. It was played on the Friday night, and then I proceeded to miss it, so that was good. But I have caught up since. Good news. It ended in a 1-1 draw. And it's probably a result that it doesn't really suit either side, because Lyon will be looking to get points at home and Nice obviously will be looking to get the win to put the pressure on. So it doesn't really suit either side, but given the context of the game, it probably was a fair result. Lyon, only the second time that they've actually dropped points since moving to the Stade de Lumière or Lyon Park, whichever you want to call it. And they've scored in every single game, which is quite a nice little record to keep up. How long it will last is anyone's guess. But it was actually Nice that took the lead. A Valère-Germain goal sort of from a cross. It was debatable whether he was onside or offside, but he got a little touch to it into the corner. Nice took the shock lead. But the game kind of changed then even more in favour of Nice when Max Cornet, the young man who's been making a name for himself, was sent off for a pretty terrible late challenge on the Nice goalkeeper. At just 25 minutes played, down to 10 men, straight red, he was gone. But with just 8 minutes remaining, that man, Alex Lacazette, popped up with a scrambled equaliser after a free kick was off the bar. I believe it was Sergi Darder that hit the bar. And down it came. Lacazette was there, 6-7 yards out, turning on a sixpence and firing it into the roof of the net. So, ended 1-1. As I say, doesn't really suit either side, particularly given another game that I'll come on to in a minute's result. But Lyon, I would imagine, will be the happier of the two, having come out of the game with 10 men and being behind to scramble a draw will be decent. But just quickly touching on the opponents, Nice as well, only 2 wins in their last 12 away from home. I think that's ultimately what's going to cost them in their Champions League push.
It's disappointing. Now, another big game in, at the bottom and in the European fight for European places. Gazalek playing against Lille.
Yeah, they weren't fighting for once, although they do have a quite bad disciplinary record. Right, so Gazalek, we'll start with them really. 1 win in 8 at home, and they haven't won away since December the 2nd. That stat will tell you that they lost again, unfortunately. Ended 4-2. The Minnows, the Corsican Minnows, friends of the pod, we still love you, Gazalek, but it is looking a little bit like they are on their way back to Liga, the newly sponsored Domino's Pizza Liga. Never mind. But yes, they lost 4-2. And I know it's true. It really is a true sponsorship. Gazalek were behind. Sofiane Boufal with an absolutely delicious scissor kick. If you haven't seen it, do look it up from an angle. But they equalised through Pujol. But goals again. Boufal put them 2-1 up. Lille, that is, on 74, and he completed his hat trick, his first career hat trick actually, on 84 minutes. A late Touré goal did spark some late fight back from Gazalek, but an own goal from Martinez with 2 minutes to go sealed their fate. Filipe was also sent off for Gazalek, which didn't help their case. But Lille, I mean, wow, the turnaround under Antonetti is just incredible. It really is. 6 straight wins, which I can't even remember the last time that Lille scored 6 goals, let alone won 6 games. So that's incredible in itself. As I mentioned, Boufal, his career hat-trick, or first career hat-trick, he's apparently rated, according to WhoScored.com, of course, but 6th best player in Liga. Which means he will inevitably be sold in the summer, because that's what happens to the best players in Liga, as we know. But as for Gazalek, as I say, that run of away, particularly the away run, not winning since December is going to be a huge issue. But when they're not winning at home as well, the home kind of ground, it's the tight ground, it's their fortress. When they're not winning at home, that's where the issues, I think, are really going to bite. So we'll come back to them briefly in my game of the week to look out for, but I do fear for our little minnows.
Well, that's a shame. We do like Gazalek.
Should say as well.
Yeah, go for it.
Just quickly, it's a perfect form for Lille to maybe cause the upset of all upsets when they face PSG on Sunday. The old Coupe de la Ligue final. So, not saying it will happen, but if there was ever an opportunity for Lille to do the unthinkable, it will be in that final, which is actually on Saturday. Sorry, not Sunday. So PSG Lille on Saturday.
It's true. Also, I've heard rumours that Buffet was off to Spurs in the summer, so if you're listening, Spurs fans, could have an exciting player on your hands, possibly.
Really?
Now, yet another team, because it appears everyone in Liga, barring about 3 teams, is in a hunt for a European spot. Rennes against Guingamp, who are probably, they're safe for the bottom and haven't really got much to play for, but got a good result.
They really did, yes. This was the Derby du Breton, or Breton Derby to the English amongst us. But yeah, it's a really, really good result this for Guingamp. And I must admit, without looking at stats, I would never have seen this coming. When I actually did look at the stats, I was like, okay, that makes sense, because Guingamp's record away to their rivals is pretty good. They've only lost 1 in the last 8 away at Rennes. So surely that basically means they should be safe now. I'm pretty confident that they've got enough points. But a massive victory, really, really was, by 3-0. Diao, Briand and Sankare with the goals. The first one was actually given with the old wristwatch jobby. Was it over the line? Was it not? And the funniest thing was that the Rennes players were seemingly incensed when it was given, and the referee had to sort of physically show one of the players his watch to prove that it had gone in. It's like, well, we have the technology. I'm pretty sure it's not going to lie. But obviously in the derbies, people lose their heads. So that goal really seemed to turn the tide, and it's just a real bummer for Rennes because they were on such a good run. We were obviously talking about Ousmane Dembele and all their free-flowing attacking play, and it's kind of just come to a bit of a sticky spell. It's successive 3-0 losses, in fact, 2 straight 3-0 losses, and they've slipped down to 7th, Rennes. So I think realistically a Champions League push was always going to be beyond them anyway. But losing 3-0 at home to a rival and a rival that's fighting the drop is not ideal. I think it's fair to say.
No, not great. Now then, last game to talk about. Oh dear, miserable misfiring Marseille under Michel. Match up at Monaco. Should we do it like that?
6 M's in a row. That's impressive.
That's alliteration for you, kids.
It is. That's very. If you come up with that on the fly, that was very good. But it describes things pretty well. I could use other vernacular to describe Marseille, but this is a family show. You probably guessed from that response that Marseille lost again. They lost by 2-1, but it's probably all about Monaco really, who've returned to form, or at least returned to winning ways anyway. They were in a bit of a sticky spell themselves, losing to Bordeaux and Lille in the last 2 games. But this victory by 2-1 is much needed. Bernardo Silva, who I happen to think is going to be a real superstar, and another one probably destined for a move in the summer. The Portuguese under-21 international put them in front on 47 minutes, and Raggi, whose first name completely escapes me. I think it's Andrea Raggi. Anyway, he got the second, and it is indeed Andrea Raggi. Just looked it up. Wonders modern technology. 75th minute, it pretty much sealed the points, and he went rather mental. It was quite a fun celebration, that. And Michy Batshuayi, who of course has been left out inexplicably by Michel the last 2 games. He was back in the side for Marseille, and he did what he pretty much always does, and that's score. The downside for him was it was in the 90th minute, so no joy for Marseille. Yet more issues as far as the crowd go. Lots of protests. I think some of the players were heckled as they got off the team bus. There's all sorts of problems there, but we've covered it. And of course, the club is now up for sale officially. Dreyfus is selling up if she can find a buyer. That's going to be the hardest point. But as for Monaco, it's a vital win. It's their first home win since February, believe it or not. I think the return of Diarra and the aforementioned Bernardo Silva is really vital for them. And as for Marseille, as we say, massive changes needed. And amazing to think they are only 6 points off the drop zone now. They won't go down, but my God, it's been a bad season for them.
It's time to say au revoir, Monsieur Michel.
Indeed.
Only Marseille fans can hope. Right, that's enough of me pretending to be French. Can you give us the rest of the results and the table, please?
I certainly can. The other results were, well, PSG, do you know what, this is the typical kind of flat track bullies performance. Having not scored against Man City when they really needed it most, they duly went and spanked Cannes 6-0. Danny won't be too pleased to know. 2 from Zlatan, goals from Matuidi, Cavani, Di Maria with a lovely little dink, and Maxwell, house to his friends. That was a comfortable victory for PSG. Troyes, they actually won a home game, although it doesn't matter, they're already relegated. Camus and Nive with the goals for Troyes, and Bifoma with the reply for Ram, and not a good result for them, by the way. Bordeaux, they lost at home to Angers in just a mental game, really. I was very close to picking this one out, but decided not to, as there isn't too many connotations behind it. But Angers back up to 8th with this victory, and Doy, Yatara and Bourillon with the goals, and they scored 3 goals, having been down to 10 men since the 34th minute. Makes it even more impressive. Roland with the reply. We've covered Lorient, Toulouse, and Bastia, the next one on my list. They lost at home to St Etienne, who are quietly back in the Champions League hunt. Nolan Roux scoring again with the winner. Nantes lost at home to Montpellier on Sunday. Darbo and Shkiri with the goals there. And that is indeed all the results. I thought I was just about to invent another fixture then. As far as the table goes, PSG are obviously top and won the league. They are 86 points. Monaco are back to second place on their own on 58 points. Lyon 56 in third. Nice 54 in fourth. St Etienne 54 on fifth. And Lille, maybe even they're in a sniff with the Champions League space in 6 on 52. Rennes, Angers, Cannes and Nantes make up the top 10. Down at the bottom, Troyes, we know they're gone, 17 points. Toulouse are still just about in with a shot, 33 points. Gazalec Ajaccio, 34 points. And then Ram just outside the drop zone on 36. Montpellier on 40. Marseille on 40. And Guingamp probably safe in 14th on 42.
Wonderful. Have you got a game picked out for us? You've got some midweek games as well, haven't you?
Yes, we've got it's midweek. It's the cup midweek. So I know a couple of you guys have got you've got fixtures for the league. We've got the cup fixtures. Lorient have got a semi-final to play. Oh yes, they have. It's against PSG. That's not going to be so good then. But Lorient host PSG on Tuesday or tomorrow or today when you might be listening to this. And Sochaux of Ligue 2 face Marseille. So this season could end up with no, they're not going to win it, let's be honest. But Marseille should be looking to get through that tie. As far as a game for next weekend, I mentioned it earlier, or a little hint for you, but Sunday, 4 p.m, sees Gazélec Ajaccio play host to Bastia, who are very much topping up their suntan. So if ever there was a must-win game for Gazélec, I think that's going to be the one.
Cool. Thank you very much. Any news for us? Is that everything?
Not massively. The only thing I noticed about news this week was that Monaco apparently are talking to Mario Balotelli's people. So,
I had that in my section. You saved me a job.
There you go. So yeah, there's a little bit of talk that Mario might fancy the son of Monaco, and the two rather fit quite well together. But other than that, and Marseille being up for sale, there's not a lot of news this week.
Lovely. Well, I'll hand it back over to you then.
Splendid. Thank you very much. Right, so we'll leave France behind and we'll shift gears to all things German next. Drew, I'm looking at you. It's this week's Bundesliga. Right then, Drew, where shall we begin? I think, looking at my list, we'll start with Werder Bremen. And they kind of had a bit of a rallying call from the manager this week, and it was all about this is a must-win fixture for us, a winnable fixture against Wolfsburg, who of course went out of the Champions League in midweek. Did they get the win they so much needed?
Yeah, they did. It was a little bit close, but Wolfsburg's poor away form bites them in the butt again. They've only won, I do believe, let me check real fast. They have 2 wins in 15 matches all season long away from home. And so Bremen ran out 3-2 winners. Claudio Bizarre opened the scoring on 32. Joshua Gilavogi, I know you guys have been high on him in the past. He leveled matters 4 minutes later. Finn Bartels restored the lead on 64 minutes. And then Sambu Yatabare made it 3-1 on 83 minutes. Bas Dost in his one of his matches after a return from his long-term injury, he got a second for Wolfsburg on 87 minutes, but it wouldn't be enough. He was actually their best player on a day. And again, this result is pretty much if I honestly had to be dead honest, I think that's Wolfsburg's season is done. There's only 4 matches left in the league, and there's 6 points behind Gladbach, Mainz, and Schalke, who are also above them. And they're just winless in 5. This is the sort of result. If it was reversed and Wolfsburg won, it could have maybe sort of kickstarted their late resurgence to maybe get into a European spot. But Werder Bremen are fighting for their lives. Wolfsburg aren't fighting enough to really sort of keep their profile high enough. Kudos to Bremen for getting a good result. I think they played actually pretty well. One of their better performances of late. Maybe 1 or 2 concerns. Wiedwald in goal wasn't very, very good, but despite that, points are points for them, honestly. And at the end of the day, they sit in the playoff spot in 16th, but they're only 2 points back of Stuttgart, who sit just above them, and also Augsburg. So Stuttgart are back to being in poor form. So it's possible they could save themselves, but just Wolfsburg, very disappointing season for me. So that's that.
Absolutely, yeah. I watched that game. Actually, it was a good watch. It was very entertaining, I have to say. But I do like Junusovic. But that's just me. Right, let's move on to another game then. Hoffenheim and friend of the pod, Julian Nagelsmann. He doesn't know he's a friend of the pod, but he is friend of the pod. This guy, he's got the touch, hasn't he? A comeback from being behind to win against Hertha Berlin.
Yeah, and with that result, they've won 4 of the last 5, and they're now a little bit clear. from that 16th playoff spot. They're only 3 points above, but they're one of the informed sides in the Bundesliga. I think only Bayern Munich, Borussia Dortmund, and Bayer Leverkusen have better form than Hoffenheim at the moment. And again, they just continue to improve more or less week in, week out. A few other key performances from weekends past didn't really show up. Kevin Val didn't have a good showing. Jeremy Tolian didn't have the best showing either. But Fabian Schär and Niklas Sula continue to be very, very strong at the back. And that's what you kind of want with them. Their issue was they're allowing too many goals and not scoring enough. But the goal scoring more consistent in the recent run, but they've been really strong at the back. And I think that's basically what Niklas was brought in. He's sort of tactically changed things, and it's almost to the point where every match you see something different. In this match, they went with a 3-5-2 with Eugen Polanski in the holding midfield, so it was actually a 3-1-4-2. I guess to maybe sort of Hertha rely on Salomon Kalou and Genk Haraguchi on the wings. So with those three center backs trying to really sort of marshal Vlade Bisevic and Vlad Drida in the middle, and then you have Tolian and Kevin Volland sort of running the races on the wings. It served them well. Nicholas Stark did open the scoring for Hertha on 26 minutes, but Fabian Schär leveled match on 33rd, and then Manuel Utz got the win on 85 minutes. So it's another really, really good showing. On form, because they're so strong, I think they're going to be safe, honestly. Anything can happen with 4 matches left, and there's still, again, only 3 points clear. But with the form of, Hanover and Eintracht Frankfurt being poor, and Werder Bremen, that was their first win in 4, and then Stuttgart losing their touch, I think Hoffenheim actually is going to avoid the drop. So, brilliant first showing from Nagelsmann, and it's interesting to see if they do survive, what he'll bring in the summer and how they'll move forward next season.
Absolutely, yeah. Very, very good victory. I was, again, sort of intermittently watching this one while I was watching Werder. So let's talk about one of the unfashionable sides. I think it's, if it's not too harsh to say. So that's Darmstadt and Ingolstadt, the battle of the teams that everyone thought would be gone. I don't think either of these are going on this showing, and the home side came out with, I think, only the second victory at home all season, I think I'm right in saying.
Again, I'll check for you. That is indeed their only. That's the second one at home. But honestly, despite that fact, apart from the other 4 clubs I just mentioned before, they haven't lost in their last 6, and they've been showing quite well. Obviously they've had maybe too many. They have the most draws in the Bundesliga, so maybe they've dropped a few points where they shouldn't have. But again, when we don't score that many goals, you're always going to perhaps lose 2 points here and there in matches you maybe should have won. But this is a match that they saw through. Christian Raus scored in the 51st, and then Sandro Wagner, who was excellent in this game, he had a goal and an assist. He doubled the lead on 85 minutes, and that was that. One of the more poor showings from Ingolstadt this season, especially in the final third. Lucas Intercier and Damon Loscano didn't really perform well, and also it highlights the importance of Pascal Gross when he's playing very, very well and pulling the strings from a deeper area in midfield. They usually are a little bit better, but he was completely shut down in this match, and this is what Dirk Schuster is going to want from his men for the next 4 matches. Solid, consistent performances. Everyone will chip in for them. Again, but also the importance of Sandro Wagner. I guess we can sort of relate it to being as we support Arsenal. When Giroud is on, the way he can hold the ball, the way he can bring others into the play, but also the way when he does finish, the way he can. Sandro Wagner is, I guess, a decent comparison to that. Darmstadt are always going to play on the counter, and even though they were home against Ingolstadt, they still played on the counter. Ingolstadt had just shade under 60% possession, but Darmstadt are happy to try to take their chances when they can, and Sandro Wagner's a big part of that. So anything that happens in the last 4 matches, if he's playing well, then they'll probably get a result. And then also, Aitak Sulu has been one of the unsung heroes this season as a center back. He played absolutely brilliantly in this match as well. So those 2 performers, when they're on, I think Darmstadt will be okay.
Absolutely. Sulu will indeed live long and prosper at the club. I was very John, that was. And I do think Sandro Wagner, by the way, he reminds me of Alex Meyer in respect of what he does for his club. He just seems to be that kind of talisman. Good little player. Our final game is the sort of the nicknamed of the Carnival Derby, I guess you'd call this, with the 2 clubs involved, and those being Mainz and Cologne, or Cologne, whichever you prefer. This one was just a tale of 2 halves, wasn't it?
We've had experience with that recently, so that's why I had to chuckle. But yeah, This one, hands down, without question, it's drop points for Mainz, and not just one drop point, 3 drop points. Up 2-0 after 49 minutes. John Cordoba opened the scoring on 8 minutes, and then Leon Balogun got them the 2-0 lead early on in the second half. And you would think with the way Mainz has performed all season long, it was done and dusted, and they could probably maybe bang in 3 or 4, or at least see out the result. But no. They ended up losing 3-2. Marcel Rees grabbed them back on 64 minutes. Then Milos Jojic, 10 minutes later, got the equalizer. Then Anthony Modesta, he's had a very good season for them. He actually got the winner on 83 minutes. Very, very disappointing. Yunus Mali had a very poor match. Usually Mainz are pretty safe and secure at the back, but Loris Karius didn't play well. Stefan Bell had an uncharacteristic error at the back that led to a goal. So apart from, and I know Balogun got a goal, but I don't think he was all that impressive either. Even Julian Baumgartner could, he's always very, very, very secure and a safe option to really sweep things up. But despite his efforts, it wouldn't be enough. It's a little bit worrying for Mainz. I think this is where their inexperience comes into play. Maybe it's territory they haven't been in before. They're at the moment. They're tied with Gladbach and Schalke on points, and they're sitting right now currently in a Europa League spot. And if they had won this, they'd only be a point back of Hertha for Champions League. So maybe a bit of nerves, inexperience. Martin Schmidt, this is his first season at a position of this sort of clout. So they might have to work out a bit of cobwebs, but there's still time. Basically they're going to finish somewhere between 5th and 7th. It's just a matter of if it's going to be in the Europa League spot or not, but this definitely won't do them any favors. But it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back. So we'll see what they're made of. Either they're going to show that they are deserving of Europa League, or they'll falter and they're not. So we'll see.
Interesting one to keep an eye on. Let's quickly run through the other results from the weekend and have a look at the table.
Sure. Augsburg won 1-0 at home against Stuttgart. Leverkusen won 3-0 at home against Eintracht Frankfurt. Bayern Munich dominated Schalke, won 3-0. And then Dortmund beat Hamburg 3-0 at home. And that's for the table. Bayern still top on 78 points. Dortmund second on 71. Bayer Leverkusen third on 51. Hertha Berlin 4th on 49. Gladbach, Mainz, and Schalke tied for 5th on 45. As I said before, Werder Bremen in that playoff spot on 31 points. Eintracht Frankfurt 17 on 27 points. And Hanover 18 on 21 points. And again, barring some sort of miracle of astronomical proportions, they're going to be, they'll be going down this season. So, yeah.
Fair enough. And I believe you have 2 Deutsche Pokal matches this weekend, or this week, sorry. What are they? Who are they?
Actually, tomorrow, Bayern Munich against Werder Bremen. I know they had an excellent win at the weekend, but I wouldn't expect Bremen to get any sort of result out of this. And then Wednesday, it's Hertha Berlin playing host to Borussia Dortmund. So, honestly, I think you should expect a Bayern Dortmund final coming up eventually, which would be in May on the 21st for those of you that are curious.
Sounds logical. It was last year, I think it was, wasn't it? So, yeah, seems to be written in the stars. Okay, good stuff. Again, as usual, any questions for Drew, ping them his way.
Didn't you want a match for the weekend?
Oh, awesome. I do. Yes, you're absolutely right.
Well, I'm going to pull a Kris, and I'm going to give you a couple.
Go on.
Because, given the ramifications of the last 4 matches, first and foremost, you have Hertha actually play host to Bayern. Key match because they have a chance to put pressure on Leverkusen, but also they have 3 other teams to beat them down the neck. And should they drop points or even lose, then that makes that Leverkusen-Schalke match key, but also that Hoffenheim traveling to Gladbach match also. So those 3 I would peg for matches of interest, if you will.
Hamburg-Bremen as well. Is that wow? I mean, that's massive. Okay, good. So it's always nice when you can't separate them, isn't it? And you got loads of games. It means more people watch more football. That's always a good thing. Right. Okay, we will leave Germany there then, and we'll wrap up our trip around the leagues this week with a little trip to Italy, and it's this week's Serie A. All right, then, John, let's go to you, and we're going to start with a team. I love the name, Carpi. They had, I think you've been saying for a while that they've got a good chance of staying in the division. And if they get victories like they did this weekend, they have every chance.
Yeah, they've certainly got it. They won 4-1 at home to Genoa. Really impressive result. They were helped a little bit by the referee, it's fair to say, but the game went as probably most people expected. It was actually Pavalotti scoring the opener for Genoa. Despite the fact Carpi actually started really well, they were really up for it. They were chasing around the pitch. There was decent press. But Armando Izzo was sent off for a second bookable offence for Genoa, which was a little bit soft. The first yellow as well was perhaps also a little. So Carpi did get some luck, but they really pressed that advantage straight away. Di Gaudio scored a really good overhead kick, which is definitely worth going to look up. Lolo scored the second with a nice tap-in. Gasparini was then sent off, the Genoa manager, from the sidelines for dissent, for obviously complaining about Genoa being down to 10 men and the fact that they were then losing to Carpi, a team that lots of clubs of the establishment think shouldn't even be in the division because they don't like these so-called rural teams. But yeah, second half started and Genoa conceded near enough immediately. Pasquiti finishing from just 12 yards out, and it's the first time in Serie A history Carpi had scored 3 goals in a game. To be fair, this is the first season Carpi had been in Serie A, so it's not massively surprising. But they then broke that record with Sabelli adding a 4th late on for his first Serie A goal. So really good day for Carpi, and gives them a really good chance of staying up this season and sort of shutting up some of those sort of established teams, if you like.
Forza Carpi, that's what we say. And another friend of the pod, I've decided. Let's move on to friends of you and I. That's Inter Milan, and the Nerazzurri faced on paper what looked to be a pretty tough challenge as they welcomed title-chasing Napoli to the San Siro on Saturday night. And it's probably the only result we could smile about at the end of the weekend, wasn't it?
Yeah, unbelievable. We won 2-0. Sorry, I say Inter won 2-0. I say we. I was amazed. We beat them earlier in the season, which was a surprise, but that was early on when Inter were playing well. And the Inter have been in and out of form and confusing, and at times they've gone for 1-0 wins and it's worked, and other times they've tried to play open attacking football and score lots of goals and it hasn't really worked. But this time they reverted back to sitting deep and defending and hitting on the counter and just letting Napoli have the ball, which worked perfectly. Got a goal 4 minutes in. Wonderful finish from Icardi. Really good floated ball from Gavin Riddell, but Icardi pulled the ball out of the air with one foot and then chipped Reina with the other. Fantastic finish. And it was Brozovic, player who I really like, playing in midfield for Inter, got the second with a lovely little dink over Reina. But it was more about Inter getting their tactics really spot on for the day. Could have had more. Perisic with a diving header had a really good chance. Jovetic probably should have scored as well. Napoli, for all their possession, they couldn't quite find the final ball. They had no Higuain, obviously, for this game, still suspended, but they had Gabbiadini up front, and it just wasn't quite working. Gabbiadini, for as good as he is, he needs another striker to play off. He can't really do it up front on his own. So, really good result for Inter. Not good for Napoli, and probably seals the title for Juve.
I think you might be right on that one, I have to say, unfortunately, because, I say unfortunately, I mean the best team should win the league, but even so. Let's talk about Atalanta, who have faced Roma, who of course themselves are chasing Champions League football. This was the early game on the Sunday, and if you weren't up early enough to watch it, you missed a cracker.
Very strange game. Started perfectly. Most people expected Roma to win, and that's the way it was going. 2-0 up, not a problem. I'll say now, the game ended 3-3, which is just bizarre, but it started perfectly for Roma. 2-0 up, first goal from Lucas Digne, lovely little assist through ball from Diego Perotti, and a good finish from Digne, and then a typical Roma counter-attack. Nice little sort of 1-2s, getting it through, Salah running at pace and then pulling back for one of my favourites, Raja Nainggolan, to finish. Really good finish from the edge of the box. But then it was almost as if Rudi Garcia was back in charge of Roma again, because Roma just forgot how to defend all of a sudden. D'Alessandro pulled one back, completely unmarked at the back post, crossing from the left-hand side, and basically that was the story of the rest of the game. Borriello found himself unmarked as well, got the equaliser, a man you cannot leave unmarked. He's always dangerous from set pieces and headers. And then Gomez made Rudiger look a complete and utter idiot, turned him inside out and put a perfect ball for the unmarked Borriello to yet again score. So they went from 2-0 up to 3-2 down. Roma eventually get the equaliser after throwing more and more players forward, and it was Francesco Totti who salvaged the point. And they did push on to try and get the win, but they couldn't do it. They probably would have won the game were Edin Dzeko able to hit a barn door. You could do an amazing, probably 20-minute long compilation of some of the worst misses you'll ever see in your life, all just from Dzeko this season. I do not know what has happened for him, but again in this game he missed another one from 6 yards out, which I'm pretty sure went out of the stadium. It's just unbelievable. I don't know what has happened to him, but he certainly won't be at Roma next year. So yeah, not good for Roma. Possibly, it's still very difficult, but it's possibly opened up the chance for Inter to maybe sneak into the Champions League because of the result against Napoli and Roma dropping points. So that kind of gives that little chance there. I suppose the only good thing for Roma is the fact that Napoli did lose. So you'll see what happens, but yeah, not a good result for Roma, and Spalletti was not happy at all.
No, absolutely. And just segueing quickly before we do our final game, we had another question from our West Ham friend Mark. I'm going to call him West Ham Mark from now on. He wanted to know about Totti just quickly. Obviously, there was the incident. I think it was after the game where he had a bit of a dig at Spalletti and sort of saying, "Well, if you play me, this is what happens: 2 assists and a goal in his last 3." Do you see Totti potentially any chance of him sticking around, or do you think it's somewhere like MLS for him at the end of the season?
If he wants to keep playing, I think he needs to go to another league. If I was him, honestly, I think just retirement is the best thing, or take a coaching role or whatever position, because Roma have basically said, just take your pick. There's so many different positions you can have at the club. That's what I would do. That whole thing after the game, I saw that, and it was less Spalletti and it was more Totti saying, look, this is what I've still got to offer, which is true, he does to a certain extent, but they came out again today and had to do the press conference of shaking their hands and showing that there's nothing wrong between the two of them, and genuinely I don't think there is. I just think it's a lot more the media hyping it up and twisting and mistranslating on purpose some of the things he says. But yeah, if I would like to see Totti finish his career at Roma, it would be, although I'm sure he could offer something to the MLS, it would be a sad sight to see him in it.
Fair enough. Yeah, I can kind of concur with that. It's Totti, isn't it? It's just everyone loves Totti. Anyway, we got one more game to go. It's Juventus. Obviously, with Napoli's slip, you would fully expect Juve to take advantage, especially when they're playing at home to 9-manager Palermo, and I'm assuming they did.
Yes, 4-0. The scoreline sounds quite comfortable, and probably the second half was, but not actually. The first Palermo were actually quite good, despite the fact Juventus took a very early lead. This goal, actually there was 2 amazing goals in this game, but the first one from Khedira is fantastic. Pogba gets it in midfield, puts a beautiful ball across for Khedira's run, who perfectly chests it up in the air to then volley it in. Just superb finish, really, really good. Palermo actually had some really good chances in the first half though, and actually pressed Juve, who probably weren't at their best, or maybe had their foot off the gas a little bit after the Napoli result and thought, yeah, the title was basically done. Lazar in particular for Palermo really impressing, so maybe Palermo almost getting that new manager bounce, but unfortunately second half Juve came out playing properly. Pogba got the second goal, completely unmarked at the back post as he was all game, kind of a theme of this weekend in Serie A for some reason. I don't know what was going on there. Got an easy tap in. Cuadrado, who scored the other stunner of the game. It was almost like some sort of 13-year-old kid was playing FIFA and they were controlling Cuadrado. I'll try and describe the goal. A player comes in for a tackle, so Cuadrado decides to just impotently flick it over him. And then as the ball's coming down, he fakes to hit a pass outside him, which completely sells the dummies to the defender, and then he volleys it straight in the top bin. Beautiful goal, really worth looking up. And the fourth goal was from the substitute Paduin. Nice little ball through from Morata and a good finish. And then you had the J Stadium all singing, "Who needs Ronaldo? We have Paduin." One of a real fan favourite there. So yeah, comfortable 4-0 win, and probably all but seals up the title for Juve.
Absolutely, and that song from Padoin, that's class, and that Quadrado goal, I can vouch for you. That was something of beauty. Anywho, what was the other results from the other games this weekend?
Okay, we had Bologna lost 1-0 at home to Torino. Fiorentina got a win, 3-1 at home to Sassuolo. Look up the Consiglio own goal from Sassuolo.
That was superb.
Yes, there's a few people saying it was match fixing, but Fiorentina were already winning and quite comfortable in that game, so I shall not hear such talk of Syria. It's terrible. Lazio won 2-0 at home to Empoli. Samp lost 1-0 to Milan under Milan's new coach, Brocchi, with his first win on his debut. Udinese and Chievo played out a 0-0. Verona lost 2-1 to Frosinone. And that was all the results. So the table, as it stands, Juventus now 9 points clear at the top. So just the 5 games to go, so it looks like it's all done and dusted. Napoli in second on 70 points, a further 5 points behind to Roma, and then Inter just 4 points behind Roma now, so possibly a chance. Fiorentina only 2 points behind Inter as well, so there's a bit of a fight there. Down at the bottom, Verona still not officially relegated, although we basically know they are on 22 points. Palermo dropped down to 19th now on 28 points. Frosinone in 18th on 30, and Carpi still out at the bottom 3 on 31. Udinese just above on 35.
This is all getting tight.
Mm-hmm.
Full midweek programme, if I'm not mistaken, so give us those games.
Yeah, we've got a full week midweek programme. I won't read through all the games because you'll just get bored, but one game to look out for from the midweek, definitely watch Juventus Lazio. Should be good. Lazio need some results. Juve looking to seal up the title, and as for the weekend fixtures coming up, it's not really at the weekend because the game I've picked is the Monday night, is Roma versus Napoli, which is huge game. I've got quite a bit of news for you as well, actually.
Go for it.
I'll just go through quickly. In the Juve game, Claudio Marchisio got injured, sadly, and it's discovered he's got a ruptured ACL, so he's going to have to have surgery, so he will be out of the Euros. Mattia Perin has offered to watch the Euros with him. That is the Genoa goalkeeper, who is also an Italian international. The sale of Milan to the Chinese group of investors has been delayed yet again. Berlusconi's still not sure. As you said about Balotelli earlier, Fekir has named Juventus as one of the 4 clubs he'd like to join in the summer, which is nice of him. And some good news, Parma are now a professional club yet again. They have been promoted to Serie D, which is wonderful. If anyone didn't know, Parma got themselves in lots and lots of financial trouble and had everything taken away from them and all their trophies. But yeah, they've come back from non or semi-professional football and now are a professional football club yet again. And lastly, Palermo haven't sacked anyone this week, although Zamparini has accused Verona of letting Frosinone score against them, so that Palermo definitely get relegated.
Oh, only in Italian football, eh? You gotta love it. You gotta love it.
So all good, joyous news.
Superb. Okay, well, I know we've got a couple of Serie A questions we'll get to later on as well, but keep tuned and tweet John with any questions you might have. Right, that wraps us up as far as our in-depth looks around our relevant leagues goes, and now we're going to take a little dip into a couple of bizarre leagues, and it's this week's Best of the Rest. Okay, so this week I've gone full hipster this week. I mean, this is beard stroking, tight jeans wearing. I mean, this is braces the lot. This really is. I've pulled out Croatia and the Czech Republic for this week's Best of the Rest. So let's see where we are in Croatia first of all. This is the HNL League. I'm reliably informed. I could be completely wrong, but that's what I've got on my sheet here. And currently top of it are the reigning champions, Dinamo Zagreb. 31 matches played, 72 points. So they're comfortably out in front. Rijeka are second, 68 points. It's only a 4-point gap, but I still think Dynamo will probably win. But Rijeka are on quite the run of form. 4 wins from the last 5, so they're doing all right. Excuse me. Oh, crikey. Hajduk Split, who just nearly made me choke. That's a famous old name from European
Nearly
football.
Hajduk Spitz then.
It really was, yeah. Hajduk Phlegm, nearly. But they are third on 55 points, a famous old name of European football. And Lokomotiva Zagreb, who is, I'm presuming, are Zagreb's nearest and dearest neighbours, 46 points in fourth. And there is actually a team just called Split, who are fifth. So a little shout to them. Down at the bottom, there's a team just called Zagreb. This is very confusing. There seems to be 4 clubs in Zagreb. It's very confusing. But they're bottom on 11 points. They've won 1 game all season, bless them. So I think it's safe to say they've gone. And Istra 1961, great name that is. They're in the relegation playoff spot on 23 points with Osijek just above them on 29. So there you go. The results this weekend, Dynamo Zagreb beat Zagreb, funnily enough, 1-0. I guess that was some kind of Zagrebian derby, if that's even a word. And Rijeka, as I mentioned before, the kind of informed side, they won away at Lokomotiva Zagreb. So all the Zagrebs. So there we go. For our Croatian listeners, Bok, that's your Croatian League update. As far as the Czech Republic goes, well, you won't be surprised to know that there's a few teams in this league that might be a little bit difficult to pronounce. So we'll see how we get on. But Victoria Pilsen, I can do that one. They are, I think they're a Champions League club, if not this season, seasons past before. They are currently top on 65 points, and they've won quite a lot of matches in a row, 5 in fact, so 65 points top. Sparta Prague, you'll remember them. They are 54 points and second, so there's quite a gap in that league. Malada Bolslav, that's the first tricky one to get your tongue around. They are third, 49 points. Slovan Liberec, who I can also remember from years past, 48 points in fourth in the old UEFA Europa League spot. They get 2 Europa League spots, 2 Champions League spots, believe it or not. Qualifiers, at least. And then outside of that, you've got Slavia Prague, the sort of near neighbours of Sparta. And then you've got, here's one for you, Zobrovia Brno, I believe they're pronounced. They are in 6th, and they can stay there as far as I'm concerned. Down at the bottom, Banica Strava, another former European name to make a note of. They're bottom, 14 points, only won 4 games all season. Sigma Olomouc are also down there, second bottom, 15 place with 21 points. Pribram, I think that's how you pronounce them. They're just above the relegation zone. And the team that I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce are in 13th. Just look them up. It starts with a V, and then the second is with a J, and I'm just not even going to try. And Zlin, who I can pronounce, and Bohemians 1905, just above the relegation zone as well. So there you go. And as far as results this weekend, Victoria Pilsen, as I said, they're on a bit of a stomp, so I think it's safe to say they're probably going to win the league. But they won 2-1 against Zobravlo Bruno this weekend, and Sparta Prague. They had, I think it's fair to say, a tough day at the office, a 2-2 draw away at Bohemians 1905. So there you go. There's your Czech Republic update. So that is full hipster, if ever there was. Please don't tweet me any questions about how to say names, because you probably won't get a reply. Right, let's move on.
Tweet Danny them.
Oh God, that would be hilarious. I really should get Danny to do so. I should get him just to record him saying a few of these. It'd be hilarious. Anyway, it's not like I didn't get them particularly well myself. Let's move on then. Before we take your questions, we've got some time to do this week's Hipster's Choice. Okay then, Hipster's Choice this week is going to take us to Germany and the Bundesliga. So Drew's ears will prick up at the sound of this one. We've decided to go for a defender this week, and a defender with an awful amount of promise, I think it's fair to say. And it is Bayer Leverkusen's Jonathan Tah. So, what do we know about Jonathan Tah? Well, that is his full name. No middle names as best we can find. He was born on February the 11th, 1996. Makes him 20 years of age. He is German, of course. 6'4" and 203 pounds of pure defender. He is Bayer Leverkusen's number 21, plays at centre-back. He's a right-footed player, and he's a current client of Under Armour. He wears their Clutch Fit Force 2 boots. That's quite a name. Social media-wise, he's not on Twitter, apparently, but he is on Instagram. Instagram, so you can stalk him on there. He's Jonathan Tar _ apparently, and I have tweeted some highlights from his YouTube earlier on from our Hipsters account, so do have a look at those. So he is a German footballer, and currently playing, as we say, at centre-back for Bayer Leverkusen, who sit fourth in the German Bundesliga. Tar's born in Hamburg. He was snapped up by Hamburg SV in 2009 at the age of just 13, and in 2012-13 he made 21 appearances with the under-19s and was so impressive that in 13-14 he made his senior debut, the club's youngest ever debutant, on August 4th, 2013 in a DFB Cup match against SV Schlutt-Jena. His Bundesliga debut came on the 21st of September in a 2-0 loss at home to Werder Bremen. While still playing with both the under-19s and Hamburg's reserve teams in the Regionalliga North 4th Division, Tar would go on to make 4 cup appearances and 16 Bundesliga appearances with the first team in 13-14. He was loaned to Fortuna Düsseldorf in the Bundesliga 2 in 2014-15 season under rumours of contract complications and conflicts between the player and club. His stalwart performances and undeniable talent, clearly more suited to the top flight though, caught the eye of Leverkusen sporting director Rudi Völler, and Tar joined Bayer for €7.5 million transfer fee, which is increasing and looking like a huge bargain. On the centre-back, Völler said Jonathan brings to the new generation of centre-backs who are very good footballers, and at 6'4", more than £200, as we said before, he's an imposing and impressive physical presence. For Bayer, he plays centre-back in a back four in either a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1 formation. And despite his large frame, he's able to elegantly glide past defenders. He's able to read the game well and is excellent at distribution. With only 1 yellow card this season, he can do all this cleanly. Tar's rapid rise through the German youth system is a testament to his remarkable progress. In July 2015, after confirming his move and coming on from Hamburg to Leverkusen, he captained the Germany side, which included Schalke's Manchester City target Leroy Sané, and at the European Under-19 Championship in Greece. 2 months later, in September, he made his debut for the Germany Under-21 side. This month, Joachim Low called him up to join the senior side for their Euro 2016 prelim games, shall we say. He earned his first senior cap, replacing Mats Hummels in Germany's 3-2 loss to England. And as far as appearances and stats go, well, he has made 27 appearances this season. That's 2,386 minutes. No goals, no assists, but he's a centre-back, so we can let him off that. 1 yellow card, no red cards. His average passes per game, 40.8. His pass success percentage is 78.2%. He averages 3.2 long balls per game, 1.4 tackles per game, 3.2 interceptions per game, which is 12th highest in the Bundesliga, and 4.4 clearances per game, which is 19th in the Bundesliga. His average man of the match rating on WhoScored.com, 7.20. So there we go. That is Jonathan Tar then. Drew, I'm obviously going to come to you because you have seen this young specimen develop over the past few months. What do you make of him?
He's a beast. Sorry.
No,
Thanks, John.
yeah, I mean, John's got the short answer down packed. But basically, I absolutely love him. And if I could snap off a limb and have him magically appear in an Arsenal shirt, I would. But that's not going to happen. But simply put, he's just he's the type of defender you want. He doesn't have to rely on last-ditch tackles. He makes less than 2 tackles per match. He's excellent at reading the game already. He's only 20 years old. He's incredibly good in the air, both defensively and on set pieces. He doesn't foul very often, which is nice. So he's not, we can maybe throw out a few names who we're familiar with, but he doesn't have to rely on, trying to track someone down and bringing them down because he got beat. He doesn't get beat very often, and that's what I like about him so much at such a young age. He's not the best distributor, but then again, when you play the type of football Leverkusen do where they oftentimes counterattack, sometimes he'll try to spring the counterattack and play that first long ball. So, a lot of people criticize his passing, but I think it's more down to the style of football they play rather than his ability or rather inability. I think I expect fantastic things from him. I don't know what kind of a role he's going to play for Germany in the Euros this summer, but I'd be shocked if he wasn't in the squad, whether he starts or not, over, people like Mats Hummels and Shorter Mustafi, people like that's another matter. But if it was up to me and I was in Jurgen Lowe's position or whoever takes over from him, or if Jurgen's at the World Cup, I can't remember, but I would actually look at starting him in World Cup 2018 because I think he's that good. He's only going to get better. As for his future, I can see him staying at somewhere like Leverkusen. There's not much higher you can go in the Bundesliga if it's not, Bayern or Dortmund, and who knows what they're going to do. But Dortmund are pretty settled at center back for a little while, and who knows what Ancelotti's going to do with his center backs when he comes in. But on the other hand, honestly, Germans like to stay in Germany, but I wouldn't be shocked if he actually moved abroad at some point. I think he is that good to play at even in Spain or in Italy or in England, but high hopes for him, So I think he's going to be a fantastic talent in years to come for sure.
Yeah, I totally agree. And Tom and John, one word answer. One club in Italy, one club in Spain that you think he would suit. John?
Oh, well, that was on the spot.
I know.
Roma.
I knew you'd say Roma, and I agree. Tom, team in Spain?
Atletico.
Interesting.
Godin replacement.
He's a very athletic player. I would agree.
Godin replacement, yeah.
Yeah, and he would fit quite nicely with Lucas Hernandez or Jimenez as well. So yeah, good shout. Okay, super. Well, thank you to Kelly, as usual, for compiling those notes for us. Very much appreciated. And again, if you've got any questions on any of our Hipsters Choices, you can indeed go back and listen to them and then ping us some questions. I know one gentleman, I think it was Mark, actually, again, West Ham Mark, asked us about Iñaki Williams. Mark, if you go to our website and you click on one of the tabs at the top, it says Hipsters Choice. There's a list of all the previous Hipsters Choices that we've done, and indeed the time checks where to scroll to the podcast to listen to them. So we have done Iñaki Williams, if you want to listen to what we thought.
I didn't know you even did that. It's very detailed.
Oh, yes, mate. I'm ever the professional. So, yeah, you can actually scroll.
You mean Kat is?
No, it was all me.
Oh, it was you. Oh, wow.
All me. Kat does a fantastic job, I should say.
Look, guys, Kris never puts any effort in.
Cheeky bugger. But no, Kat does a fantastic job, but this was my idea, so I thought it would be a nice way for people to quickly zip back and listen to the future talents that hopefully we unearth on this podcast. So there you go. Good stuff. Right. Okay. Final segment then. It's this week's Onion Bag. Righty-ho. Now, you might have noticed a little tweet that we popped up earlier on this afternoon, or you might not have. So if you haven't, we've decided just to cut the listeners' questions back just a smidge. This is not because we hate you. In fact, we love each and every one of you that listens, but it's just so that we can try and make the pods a little bit shorter and a little bit more snappy, so that we've got a little bit more time for you to sort of enjoy your day rather than banging on for hours and hours. So let's pick up a couple of questions and see what we can get answered for you. I'm going to start with you, Drew, and this one comes from Finn, who's at Boo Boo Bunner. He says, why has Mario Götze's career stagnated so badly at Bayern? Will he stay there? And if he goes, what team do you think would suit him best?
Well, let's start with the simple one. If he goes, I think it's not if he goes. I think it's when he goes. Even Thomas Muller's come out and says he expects Götze to leave despite Ancelotti coming in next season. So I think it's just one of those scenarios where he's had his fill at the club, no matter who's in charge. Why he's not worked under Pep? Honestly, if people remember, Pep originally wanted to bring Neymar to Bayern, and Bayern really wanted to bring Götze in because they wanted to stay German, and Bayern do have a habit of taking the best players off direct rivals, so that's why they got Lewandowski as well. On the surface, he is a Pep player. He plays 4 or 5 or 6 different positions. He's technically gifted, but I think the thing is, I don't know if he's when you look at the type of style Pep's played and the formations he's used a 4-1-4-1 a lot, that transitions into the 4-2-3-1 that we see so often. But when you have Kingsley Coman on one wing and Douglas Costa on the other, it gives that pace to break into the line to really set up Lewandowski more than, and that's something that Mario Götze doesn't really have. He's not very quick. He's good on the ball, but you would compare him more to how maybe Iniesta was under Pep. But that's not what Bayern needed at the moment. With Muller and Lewandowski both playing at the same time, and Muller just behind Lewandowski, they really needed pace on the wings. People who can whip crosses and people who can beat you off the dribble and then get into those danger areas. And Götze can't really do that. So I think it's more of a Pep originally didn't want him, right? But I think it's more of a tactical scenario as well. Götze doesn't fit what he needs, and I think he's right to leave. Of course, he needs first team football. He wants to always be a factor for the German national team. So I think it's the right call for him to leave. Also, where he'll go, I don't know. But I think the failure is more down to a combination of things, not just one.
Interesting. I wonder if he might pitch back up at Dortmund. Don't think so.
They don't want him there.
No, they
So,
really don't, do they?
They don't.
They made that very clear the other week. Right, on to you, John. 2 questions, 1 stone, if you will. Michael Filetti, at Mike Filetti, wanted to know who you can see Milan bringing in as their next head coach. And on the same vein, West Ham Mark, he's back again. There he is. He wanted to know what you thought the downfall of Mihailovic's reign was.
Well, I don't think Mihailovic was a bad coach. He just unfortunately ended up at Milan at the wrong time. Berlusconi doesn't help. The constant tinkering of is he selling the club, isn't he selling the club, how much of the club he's selling, changing managers so often, and then and with that you then change your transfer policy and who you're going to buy, because obviously each manager has their own style that they want to play. So I really don't think that helped. Mihailovic came in and was set to play one system and then told to play another. As for who will take over as manager, Brocchi, who has come in now, has got quite a good relationship with the owners and the board. So I expect him to see out at least the end of the season. Whether he'll stay on next year, I really don't know. The only name possibly being linked is Di Francesco from Sassuolo. But that depends if Berlusconi is still there, because he thinks Di Francesco is not a big enough name manager, if you like, to come in. So we should have to see. But it'd be nice to see if Brocchi gets his chance, because he's come up and he was the Prima Youth coach. So hopefully he gets his chance.
Yeah, good shout. 1 for Tom then. Jordan Chappell, although I always like to say Jordan Chappell because it sounds really like funky, but it's probably not. It's probably Jordan Chappell, but he's at Jordan Chappell 4. Good question this. So see what you can get your head around this one. How will Atletico Madrid cope in the next few years' time when 3 of their back 4 will be nearing their mid-30s?
Yeah, so it's going to be tricky for them, seeing as obviously the 3 being Felipe Luis, Godin, and Juan Fran. But just as we discussed in the Hipster's Choice, I mean, when we talk about Jonathan Tah, obviously they do have a habit of spending money and selling to get the funds to be able to do it. Obviously, they've got money from the Jackson Martinez sale now, so they could bring in someone like Tah. They can promote from youth. Obviously, you've seen Lucas Hernandez play this season, so you've got him at centre backs. So it'll be looking at right backs, left backs. You never know. You might even see a certain Louis Gaia turn up at Atletico that wouldn't really suit Simeone's style, but you never know. So it will be a case of buying and a slight promotion of youth. But obviously, they've sent Sequeira on loan to Valencia, so you've also got a little bit of backup there. He's not the youngest, but still, you have to see what happens. But I think they'll be okay in the department in bringing in players.
Fair enough. Good question. That very good, Jordan. Thank you. Right, a couple more, and then we will get out of here. Let's have a Liga one. I'm going to go back to West Ham Mark for this one. No, not that one. After recent Champions League exit, do PSG need a squad overhaul? It's a good one. This one, Mark. Good question, because I think they do. I really do. I think there's quite a few of these PSG players that are not necessarily past the sell-by date as footballers, but past their PSG sell-by date. I think of the likes of Maxwell, Gregory Van der Veel. I think Marquinhos, who weirdly they probably should be building the defence around, is pretty much openly said he wants to leave. So I think he will be allowed to move on. So that will mean another centre-back will need to be bought. Thiago Silva, probably still one of the best defenders in the world, but he's not getting any younger. We all know that Zlatan is likely to move on. And I even think a player sort of in the Lucas Moura mould, that there's possibly space for him to move on. I really like Lucas Moura, but I just think if PSG are offered a really high-profile player in the summer, or can go and buy one, of course, then I could see them upgrading that. That said, someone like Matuidi and Verratti, if they can keep those two fit, they can build a real midfield around those two. So, and I still have a feeling that Mr. Ronaldo might end up in Paris at some point. So, nope. I know, but that could be one to watch. But yeah, if they let Maxwell go, they've got Levan Kurzawa. And then obviously if they let Van der Veel go, then they have got Serge Aurier, although I don't think we've heard the last of the Aurier situation, so that could be one to keep a little eye on. Right, okay. The final question that we're going to touch on this week is homework for all of you gentlemen. So I'm going to read it out. It's from Artem the Gooner at Zenutta Great name that is. His exact question was, who do you think is the best up-and-coming player in each of your respective leagues? But I'm going to take your question, Azim, and I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to do it in a different way. I'm going to set our hipsters' homework. And how I'm going to do it is I'm going to ask you all to put together an 11, so not a squad, just an 11 of the best up-and-coming talent from our leagues. So we're going to take your question, Artem, and we're going to double your money and give you an even more impressive answer next week. So there's a La Liga, a Liga, a Serie A and a Bundesliga team of the best 11 up-and-coming talents. You can do it in whatever formation you like. Ping it to me, and I'll let our listeners know next week. So, good question.
Well, you already know one of mine, so...
Yes, true, yeah.
If we did a Premier League one, you could always put Theo Walcott in it.
I'm or not, as a case of it. I might actually put this question to Ross and Danny on Sunday as well. So, if you're a fan of the Breakfast Pod, please do tune in. It's myself, Danny, and Ross on a Sunday night / Monday morning, talking all things English from the weekend. So I will maybe put it to them as well. I might even get Ross to do a championship one. Should be even more interesting. So keep an eye out. Final word this week goes to Jimmy R, who's at NN_Goon, a friend of the pod. He simply just wanted us to make us aware of a goal from another friend of ours, Jason, who used to work at the Carolina Railhawks, who are in the second tier of USA football. Soccer, whichever you prefer. Goal against Ottawa Fury. Absolutely superb goal, really is. So do look that one up. I think I retweeted it on my timeline a little while ago. So at AFC 38, if you want to see that one. So thank you, Jimmy, for bringing that one up, because that is as hipster as it gets. So thank you very much. All right, okay, that is it from us. Another podcast in the can, a little bit shorter this week. So do let us know if you find the shorter pods a little bit better. Still a good chunk of time, it has to be said, but do let us know your feedback. We are at the FH Podcast. We are on YouTube. We are on iTunes, as you'll probably be familiar with by now. Do leave us an iTunes review if you get 5 minutes. And Stitcher, thank you. Do leave us an iTunes review if you get time. For any of our new listeners, we're not begging. We don't get paid for doing this, trust me. It's just a way of spreading our word out there and letting more people know who we are. And, of course, give us your feedback. YouTube, comment us or tweet us your thoughts and things you'd like to hear on the pod. So thank you, as always, to my panel, and thank you to everyone who has tuned in and listened. So thank you very much, Drew. Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you very much, John.
Cheers, Chris.
No worries.
Good night.
Or good morning. You never know, Drew. You never know. But that has been the Football Hipsters Podcast, week 26. Another one in the can. Do tune in next week. And, of course, to our breakfast show on Sunday. Keep your head strong and your glasses trendy. I have been Kris, your host, and we will speak to you very soon.
Le corner. Oh, quel geste! Quel geste! L'égalisation de Zlatan Ibrahimovic!
Andres Iniesta, se anima Andres. Andres tocó la evolución de Neymar. Messi!
Versucht alles aus sich rauszuholen, verfolgt von Schmelzer. Müller, vorbei an Weidenfeller. Müller, Bayern München ist Pokalsieger.
Che può battere Insigne con il destro a cielo, Adelante, favoloso, si gonfia la rete, favoloso.